Okay, welcome to High Cheese with Darren Maloney. Today is Monday, May 9th, 2022, my wife's birthday. And I just want to wish her a happy birthday. And my life is so much better with her in it. And again, I just appreciate her. And I'm quite happy that she's with me. So, I want to switch to Saturday Night Live. I haven't watched Saturday Night Live 30 years. It's just not funny. It used to be funny when it first started, but it's just not funny anymore. And I do want to play a clip because I came across a clip from this weekend. And it had to do with them attempting to mock Justice Alito. And make a long story short, the skit goes back in time to medieval times. And they make a fool of themselves in the sense that, well, let me just play the skit, and then we'll come back. But my point here is that in their attempt to make a fool out of Alito, they're just making a fool out of themselves, and they're showing their ignorance about law. All right, let's go to the clip, and then we'll come back.
We go now to that profound moment of moral clarity, almost 1,000 years ago, which laid such a clear foundation for what our laws should be in 2022.
What is the matter? Ye looketh lost in thought.
Oh, it's nothing. It's just, I've started to think about abortion.
Oh, really? What about it?
Well, don't you think we ought to make a law against it? A law that would stand the test of time so that hundreds and hundreds of years from now, they'll look back and say, no need to update this one at all. They nailed it back in 1235.
So I have a couple questions. I was just wondering, since I'm almost at the childbearing age of 12, men have the right to choose since having a baby means like a 50% chance of dying.
Yes, but that's why we're also offering maternity leave. When you're done with 20 years of continuous maternity, you can leave.
Okay, here's the assumption in this foul skit. They're mocking Alito's use of common law. And let me just give you a quick history on common law. Our law here is based on common law, which was a set of judgments that came down through history, particularly in England, since the medieval times. And so what's happened is our own existing law here today is based on a number of judicial decisions since the medieval times. So what they're saying here is that Alito referenced common law, and because common law is based on these bigots in medieval times, there's something wrong. So people from medieval times that were bigots, racists, likely racists, they had no judgment. They couldn't make a good decision. Therefore, Alito's a fool. But look at here. Justice Blackmun in the Roe v. Wade case references common law in his decision. Not only that, I believe that Blackmun went as far as Roman times to help his position with allowing abortions in Roe. So it's common law is okay, Roman law is okay, as long as it goes your way. But if it doesn't go your way, it's suddenly terrible precedent. It's terrible. It's a terrible system. Clarence Thomas hit the nail on the head a week ago when he said, hey, listen, people have to learn how to live with decisions that they don't like. And the left is incapable of doing that. Oh, before I forget, I just want to point out a little tidbit. Every state in the Union follows common law, with the exception of Louisiana. Louisiana follows Napoleonic law. It's slightly different. I don't want to get too much into it, but it's a little note that, and I find it interesting that Louisiana follows Napoleonic law. And I think the same thing happens up in Canada. All of the provinces up there follow common law or use common law as the basis of their law, with the exception of Quebec, which uses Napoleonic law. I just find that really interesting. In the big picture today, I think there's slight differences, but I still find it interesting that that's the case. And additionally, I just find it out of line that the pro-abortion group is saying there's no safety net for women today. And I think they got to take a look at the laws out there that are helping families raise kids. For example, you have family leave. Some states request, I think, up to 4 months paid family leave. Additionally, also, there's such a great network of adoption agencies. So I don't think that there is any value to the defense that these pro-abortionists are talking about when they say there's no safety net for single pregnant mothers. So they just lose that argument. So the only thing that it can come down to on this thing is just being selfish, extremely selfish by these people that are having these abortions. And these people, and I don't blame all of them, because a lot of them just don't have the knowledge of what's out there for them and the decisions that they can make. So what I want to do with that said, I just want to switch to a clip of, her name is Judy Hicks, and I think she's the head of Planned Parenthood Affiliated of California. And apparently she's come out and she's talked about her abortion that she had a number of years ago. And let me just go to the clip. We'll play it, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Without my abortion, none of this would have been possible. Caroline, thank you very much for sharing your story. Let's share some more of your stories and questions with Jody Hicks, the president and chief executive of Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California.
My story is typical of most, which is I wasn't ready at that time. And it has, what I know, it's afforded me the life that I have now. And it's a life that I believe I deserve. And everybody's decision is valid.
Statement, when you say for many Black women, it's not a choice. What do you mean by that? Very briefly.
I think it's for many women, if you don't have access to family leave and childcare and health care, and in Mississippi, the state where this is being heard in front of the Supreme Court, there's only one healthcare provider, and it's truly a very dangerous place to be pregnant.
So a baby got in the way of Judy Hicks's life that she deserved. So she killed it. I don't know what else to call it. Look, it's infanticide. And I don't know if you remember, or people that are listening remember, Ed Koch. He was a former mayor of New York City. And he was very blunt, very straightforward, and did not hold his tongue in typical New York fashion, which made him successful at what he did in New York City. But I think it was under the Clinton administration, and Clinton had vetoed a bill that would have banned partial birth abortions. And Ed Koch came back, and this is Ed Koch, a Democrat, in the middle of New York City, said, let's call this what it is. It is infanticide. And we are allowing infanticide right now. Isn't that startling from a Democratic mayor, New York City? What's the difference then between what Judy Hicks has done and what God warned the Israelites against doing with sacrificing their babies? In the Bible, I guess the Canaanites were sacrificing their babies, and God had warned the Israelites not to follow the same suit of killing their babies, sacrificing their babies to him. So really, in a sense, isn't that what we're doing today? We're sacrificing our babies for a certain lifestyle that everybody tells us we can't have unless we abort a baby. Look, I understand that abortion can be nuanced, particularly in the first few weeks of a pregnancy. But most of the abortions today are not reasonable. And again, I mentioned science. Science is not on the side of the abortionists because viability is reduced. And it will be reduced every day as we make scientific discoveries that would allow a baby to live outside the womb at an earlier and earlier stage. And it's distressing because it seems that the progressives are going backwards. You know, they like to make fun of medieval times and the decisions that they made in medieval times. But with what we know today, and with the social safety net we know today, with what science tells us today, aren't we the barbaric ones? Shouldn't those in medieval times look down at us as being barbaric with what we know today? And additionally, the other thing I just wanted to point out is that she later went on and talked about, in particular, African-American women need abortion. And this is the funny thing with Planned Parenthood. They push abortions on African-Americans. Millions and millions of African-American children have been aborted. So with that said, I want to switch to a clip on a Pennsylvania candidate, Karen Burnett. And let me just go to this clip because she's got a really compelling story. And thank God people like Judy Hicks didn't have an opportunity to talk to Miss Barnett's mother at the time, because she wouldn't be here today to do tremendous things with her life if people like Judy Hicks were around. So let's go to the clip and then we'll discuss.
Behind the rhetoric is a deeper story.
I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back and a well on the side.
While a childhood of poverty is tough enough, Barnett's entry into the world could be considered a miracle.
I am the byproduct of a rape. My mother was 11 years old when I was conceived. My father was 21. And I am so grateful to God that there were adults in the room. I'm so grateful to God that there were, people who came alongside my very young mother when she was in a very broken place. And there I was in her womb. I took no part in how I was conceived. And yet there I was. She saw me as someone with value. I'm so grateful. How simple. And yet today we have murdered over 63 million babies because somehow we have convinced ourselves that that life has no value, that life has no purpose. My life is valuable. My life has purpose.
Barnett didn't find out about this part of her life until joining the military in her late teens. Looking at her birth certificate for the first time, she did the math, asked questions, and reached out to her mom, and then made peace.
Well, all of that was blocked out until my daughter brought it to my attention. I never talked about it. I never wanted them to think about it. I thought I kept it hid from them, but I should have realized they had their birth certificate.
After the reconciliation came another meeting that would change her life. Barnett found Jesus after a dream about the book of Revelation. She heard an audible voice saying, "Go back home," and recalls telling God something specific on the way.
I mean, if you are real and if you can really save my life, and I won't be a hypocrite like some that I've seen growing up as a child, then I want you. And I believe it was during that time on that train ride from California to Alabama that I gave my life to the Lord.
It all started to make sense for her.
And I can see how at the age of 19, how he grabbed my hand and he began to show me my purpose and how everything about me is by design. The word of God says that it is him who decides the day and the time and the place where we will be born.
Barnett became the first in her family to finish college, saw success in the corporate world, and is now running for United States Senator.
I know what matters most to you and your family because I am you.
As a homeschooling mom of two, she's tired of the indoctrination.
We have critical race theory that goes into classroom and teaches little white kids that because of the color of your skin, you're evil, right? It is racist and it is wrong.
If she wins, Kathy Barnett would become the U.S. Senate's first Black Republican woman. She makes a habit of calling out Democrats for using Black voters to their advantage.
What exactly have we gotten for our loyalty? Right? We know what Democrats get. They cannot secure the White House without getting 92 to 95% of the Black vote. So they get the White House. Well, what exactly have we gotten?
The May primary is hotly contested in a state that could determine which party controls the Senate.
Our nation is in need of good people to get engaged. Our nation is in need of those who will take a long-term custodial view of our country. Our country does not have long-term custodians.
How do you define success? What are you trying to accomplish as you win here? Because God's a God of miracles. He can take you all the way to the U.S. Senate, and he can do something else with your life.
I want to finish this race and hear the Lord say, well done. My good and faithful servant, you ran your race that was in front of you.
God bless America!
She wants an America that gives others the opportunities that she got. Her supporters are praying for her to do just that here in Pennsylvania.
And I know the clip was a little long, and it was from CBN, but it's very important because the primary is coming up soon. And let's just take a look at the most recent Trafalgar poll. And it came out today, May 9th. And Trafalgar is one of the most accurate pollsters out there. And right now they've got Barnett in second place right now. She had surged past McCormick, who's in third right now at 22%. So Oz is at 25%. Barnett's at 23% and McCormick's at 22%. That's well within the margin of error. So she's got a shot at this. Now, I understand that Trump has endorsed Dr. Oz. But I think most people realize this, that MAGA is bigger than Trump. We all love Trump. We're gonna fight for him, but he may not always get it right. But we have to take a strong look at Kathy. And if she wins, Trump will back her. She will back Trump. And remember that. You know, and the press may come out, Trump's losing it. Burnett won in Pennsylvania. No. That's the farthest thing from the truth. Again, this is what the media does not understand about MAGA. MAGA is bigger than Trump. And Trump realizes that, and he realizes that. It's nothing against Trump, but this movement stayed alive after the 2020 elections when everybody thought it was dead. No, we have faith in Trump, but MAGA doesn't exist because of Trump. MAGA exists because of us. So we shall see. And it's funny, we do have science on our side. We continue to have science on our side in all of the issues. You look at the abortion issue with viability. Science is not a friend of the abortionist. You look at the vaccines. You look at the lies that we were told by the CDC. And you look at men like Robert Malone, who gave us the truth. And these are just a number of examples. We have science on our side. And the left is having a hard time handling this. Now, I've said in the past that our medical profession has been politicized. Our doctors have been politicized. The doctor-patient relationship is damaged severely. And it's going to continue to be damaged until doctors go back to where they were before. They have to stop being corporate doctors and start being doctors again. The primary relationship in your life should be your patients, not your relationship with a pharmaceutical company or your relationship with the organization you work in. It should be between you and your patient. That's your number one priority. But we don't have that today with many, many doctors. And they're losing it. They're trying to change the narrative on this thing. Let me just go to an article. It's from Salon, which is a left-wing magazine. And they're pointing out that the right is winning the science war, for lack of a better word. It's not that they won the science war. It's just that the scientists have been politicized. And they've just been exposed, or they continue to get exposed. So let me just read you an article from Salon. And it says here, headline is, How the Far Right Co-opted Science and Why Scientists Need to Come Out and Counter Them. And then let me just read a little of it. It says, over the course of the pandemic, conservatives and the far-right representatives have mobilized in a widespread assault on science as an institution. Shocking, huh? While this was an ongoing phenomenon well before COVID, over the pandemic, it has expanded into a variety of issues relevant that concerned the LGBTQ plus community, especially in light of recent schools' decisions to remove safe space stickers or anything related to pride, whatever that is, and the expected overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, what they're calling the conservative scientists, they're calling them the intellectual dark web. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to frame now the Robert Malones of the world, the Jordan Petersons of the world, as the intellectual dark web. So they're now trying to demonize these people because they see it coming. Once the Republicans get in November and all of these investigations start, these scientists or these so-called scientists are going to get exposed. And this article from Solana is just, fighting back. What it goes on to say, we have to get together and peer review everything that they put out there. And well, that's not going to work because all your peers are politicized. So that's where we are right now. We've got the science, so-called scientists pushing back. The institution of science is pushing back because they know what's coming. These are our political scientists. And this is from Fox. It says medical textbook strips gender dysphoria after being cited by Florida. It says here, the world's best-selling medical textbook removed the definition of gender dysphoria from its website after the Florida Department of Health cited it in a recent guidance advising against gender transitioning for children and adolescents. And this is from Fox. The email from Melissa Adams, who is Merck's manual director of marketing and brand awareness, also asked the Florida Department of Health to adjust their guidance based on the update in the manual, which was first published in 1899 and remains the oldest continually published medical textbook in English. It says here, gender dysphoria is characterized by a strong, persistent cross-gender identification associated with anxiety, depression, irritability, and often a wish to live as a gender different from the one associated with the sex it was assigned at birth, according to Merck's manual. Essentially, it means somebody that's confused about their sex. And that is a medical term. And that was a medical term until about, I guess, a week ago, when they suddenly wiped it clean. Doesn't exist anymore because it's on the wrong side politically, because Ron DeSantis used it. So now it's just disappeared. This is what they did in the Soviet Union. This is very Stalin-esque. And you wonder why we now question the medical institutions, our doctors, pharmaceuticals. So we shall see. Okay, I just wanted to talk about the markets before I go. Again, the markets continue to free fall. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all closed at 52-week lows today, which is not good. The Dow ended down 1.99%. S&P ended down 3.2%. And NASDAQ ended down 4.29%. And again, since I started this podcast, I had said that this is all being caused by artificially low interest rates with Biden's economic plan. There is no reason Biden shouldn't have thrown so much taxpayer money into the economy when it was rebounding anyway. So there's no easy way out of this predicament. And here's the funny thing, too, is that Biden's advisors are saying, well, he should promote the good things. Nobody's listening to the good things that Biden has done. And one of the things they always point out is, well, he's been good at jobs. Well, look, jobs are coming back because in the pandemic, the entire economy was closed down. So there's nowhere to go but up. And even with them going up, they're not at pre-pandemic levels that we saw under Trump. But my point is that, well, they want to promote jobs, but when you think about it, Biden's base doesn't care about jobs. Biden's base, a significant part of Biden's base, is on the dole, is looking for government handouts, and quite frankly, would be very comfortable sitting home and not working and collecting a check from the government. That's why he's not getting any positive response on that from the Democrats, because they don't care. They don't want jobs. They don't care. When I come back on Friday, we'll do a recap of what went on this week. But again, the stocks are doing bad. With that said, you have a good week, and I will talk to you on Saturday with a recap on the markets. Thanks for listening.